I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen for Monday, May 6th to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there any public comment this evening? A little hard without public, but we hope you're watching from home. First, Selectmen's report. All right, I have a few things for you. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen in the town of Darien, we're very pleased to welcome our new school superintendent, Dr. Alan Adley. Dr. Adley will join us in July and comes from Granby, where he has served a total of 27 years in their district, 11 of them as their superintendent. Among other honors, Dr. Adley is the 2019 Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents Superintendent of the Year. Dr. Adley is a native of Northern Ireland and has 33 years of administrative and teaching experience in public and private schools in the U.S. He started his career as a math teacher and a professional soccer player. So we're very excited. We had an opportunity to meet him recently, and I think he's going to be a wonderful addition to our community, and I know he's excited about being here. And Kip, I'm going to give a brief update on the Ox Ridge Elementary School process, but I'd love for you to fill in the gaps. The Ox Ridge School Building Committee has narrowed their architect selections to 3. Site visits are underway, and presentations by those 3 firms are scheduled for this Thursday, after which a final selection will be made. Each firm has been given a task of providing solutions on how to site the building on the unique site that we have to work with, building a new school while the old school is still in operation. And I commend you for coming up with that, because it's no easy task. The committee is also securing the services of other project consultants, including support for the school grant process. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Kip?
We will, tonight or this afternoon, a subcommittee is working on reviewing the submissions from the contract construction managers, and they'll be choosing a group of finalists, which we will then interview next Thursday night. To come up with a construction manager, because we think that we want them, the architect and the construction manager, both to be on board and working together to start our project before we go to the state.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. On April 15th, we welcomed Anthony Campanella to our Darien Town Hall staff as our new facilities and equipment supervisor. Tony is a Darien resident with 20 years of property and facilities management experience. We welcome Tony to our team. The Board of Selectmen this year has chosen all 3 of our volunteer fire departments as our Community Fund Volunteers of the Year. And those volunteers will be honored at a luncheon ceremony on May 21st. On Friday, Don, you can fill in the gaps on this one too. On Friday, May 31st, I-95 and both the on and off ramps at exit 9 will close, and traffic will be detoured onto 2-lane temporary roads in both directions. Motorists on Route 1 will need to use local roads to detour around the construction zone. Closures and gridlock will persist as follows. The northbound bridge segment will be installed between May 31st and June 3rd, and the southbound segment will be installed between June 7th and June 10th. If you want more information on this project, because it is pretty unique, it's the Accelerated Bridge Replacement Program. So I'm kind of excited to see how they move those big sections into place over just the matter of a couple of days. But if you want more information about it, you can go to www.i95exit9.com. Would you like to share anything else about that project? I think that the Darien Police Department will sort of be assisting with traffic controls at certain points, correct?
We will indeed. The state DOT has agreed to hire 4 Darien extra duty officers around the clock, commencing at 7 o'clock on the Friday nights and going until 5 a.m. on the Monday morning. This is just to supplant the upstream and downstream residual effects of the traffic, which we do expect to happen. although I-95 is not closed by federal highway standards, it is really, for all intents and purposes, going to be almost closed. US 1 is closed over that bridge, so the diversionary routes are Hamilton and Cortland Avenue. State police are hiring back numerous extra troopers for both the I-95 and the Merritt Parkway and the rest stops. It's going to be an interesting 2 weekends. But the trade-off is we get it done in 2 weekends
Yes.
rather than 2 years of ongoing construction.
That's exactly right.
We're gonna have to bite the bullet for at least a couple weekends.
Yeah, we're going to hope all goes well, so that's true.
They are recommending the traffic get off at exit 11, not 10.
Correct.
That's what the detours will show, because it's onto the post road.
Very
Well, then everybody can shop and dine in Darien on their detour route.
The variable message boards on I-95 all the way to Rhode Island and to Massachusetts are going to advise that I-95 is effectively shut and for US 1 traffic to exit at exit 11. So we're going to have 2 officers
Yeah.
probably exclusively detailed there until we get a handle on how the traffic's coming off that ramp and what we're going to do with them once they get on the US 1.
We should set up a lemonade stand.
Well, just for fun, that's Weed Beach Fest. The first weekend is the Weed Beach Fest.
Oh,
I was going
wow.
to say kudos that they're doing it so early in the summer. I mean, at least they can get it done earlier, but yeah.
My understanding on that as well, that if that first weekend is a complete, say we have a tornado or a complete washout, that they can't start the next weekend, they have to push it back, probably the whole project into August.
Wow.
So
Oh.
it's just not getting pushed back from weekend to weekend, they have to get that first weekend in,
Wow.
or else, the 2 weekends have to be consecutive weekends, so maybe later in
Okay.
the summer. Once the summer swing comes upon us, and they can't do it. So this is why they picked this time, I guess it's the best time to get it done before the full summer swing starts.
Interesting. Well,
Hopefully it goes off without a
Yeah.
hitch,
yeah.
and it fits.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Like those engineers knew what they were doing.
Yards and meters or something like that. We want to make sure it was all, yeah.
I've been on some that weren't quite exactly right when they first, not of this scope, I'm sure they have this down pat.
Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting, but, on a positive note, we are really grateful for Connecticut DOT's interest in investing in infrastructure here in southwestern Connecticut. I think it's fantastic. Okay, last but not least, a legislative update. I think we're now kind of in the crescendo portion of the legislative session. The Finance and Appropriations Committees voted out their budgets last week. The budget now goes into the final phase of deliberations with legislative leaders and the governor's office working together to deliver a budget on or before June 5th. The budget so far will increase spending by $1 billion each year of the biennium, not including any payroll deductions for family and medical leave, if that should come to pass, or for tolls. The sales tax base will be expanded to include things, or is proposed to expand to include things like digital downloads, ride sharing, parking, safety apparel, which is odd, dry cleaning, and higher taxes on alcohol products. The new car sales tax, which was intended for 100% of that new car sales tax to go into the Special Transportation Fund, is going to be capped at 18%. And I think the rest of the money is going into the general fund. Legalizing non-medical marijuana is likely to pass, and they're expecting to receive $57 million in this budget in revenue. They're proposing a 2% surcharge on capital gains. They're looking for $459 million in proposed labor concessions. And they're still hoping to put in place a $15 minimum wage glide path. And they're setting aside $1 million for a public option on health care. And they are also going to keep in place the hospital tax that was supposed to be repealed. So those are the things that we know today. In addition, teacher pension sharing is still very much alive in spite of getting conflicting thoughts from a variety of different places. The OPM and the governor's office is in deliberations with legislative leaders and CCM on the provisions of teacher pension sharing. So hopefully we'll have some more clarity around that issue over the next week or so. Okay.
Jamie,
Yes.
before you leave that, the 18% of the car sales tax, that's just 18, it's not a tax of 18%. It's just,
No.
the share of the total tax bucket will be 18% will go to transportation.
Correct.
And the rest will all go to the general fund?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, that's it for me.
Last week we had our, I think it would be biannual, twice a year we have an in-service day for the department heads and high-level non-rep staff. So that took place last Thursday, and we discussed evaluations. We have modified our evaluation process slightly, so we discussed that with staff. And we also, we discussed how to recognize substance abuse in employees. So I think it was a really good session. We also just want to remind you that next Monday is the annual town meeting on the budget. And some of what you're doing here tonight are actions that need to be taken based on the Board of Finance's actions preparing for the budget.
Great. Thank you very much. For new business, first I would like to entertain a motion to add to new business an item 6E, which will be for special appropriations for 4 capital projects. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved?
May I have a second? Second. Susan, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, motion carries. Okay, so 6A, and Don, thank you very much for coming this evening. It's a continuation of our discussion on the potential impacts on our local roads for tolls. And if you would like to come up to the podium so that we can ask you some questions. I distinctly remember having a conversation with you that indicated that depending on where gantries would be placed, would or could dramatically affect the flow of traffic through our downtown corridor. And just to lay the groundwork for your comments, I have gotten several emails from concerned residents asking what can we do in advance of tolls being installed and then having the negative impacts on our local roads. We all agree that we don't know what the plan is. We don't know where the gantries are, but we would love to hear your thoughts. First, we want to hear your concerns, your thoughts, and if there are any things that the local traffic authority could be recommending, how we could be proactive. So.
Well, first and foremost, I want to apologize once again for being a few weeks late to the meeting to discuss tolls, but I'm always happy to come talk to the Board of Selectmen about matters affecting all of us here in Darien. Certainly, tolling in general, the devil is still in the details. I have not seen a proposal that tells me chapter and verse where these tolls are going, how they will be implemented, when they will be implemented. The initial tolling map clearly showed the gantries in Darien. Greenwich, they skipped Stanford; Darien, they skipped Norwalk, Westport, where conversely on the Merritt Parkway, it was flipped. So they flipped Greenwich, but it's Stanford, and they missed New Canaan. So apparently in an initial plan, at least, that's how it was going to be done. Specifically here at Darien, yes, certainly it's going to depend where that gantry is if we get a gantry. Clearly, their tolling would be looking, I think, in my mind, to achieve maximum revenue. The I-95 service areas get a lot of business. We're going to be certainly looking to capture that revenue, I think. For example, if we put a toll in between exit 9, or a gantry in between exit 9 and exit 10, conceivably someone would pop off at exit 9, come right down the post road, hop on at entrance 11, and continue on their merry way and avoid one toll. For a car, maybe it wouldn't be that big a deal, but conceivably you could get an 18-wheeler doing that same thing, especially at nighttime tractor-trailer units. right? They could hop off and come down the post road and hop back on.
Let's hope they get back on at 11.
Hmm?
Let's hope they get back on at 11.
And
Well, we're
avoid
getting
our
stuck.
Boy, we'll have to have beyond neon lights flashing for that bridge.
I wish I could stand here tonight and tell you that I'm a toll expert. I'm clearly not a toll expert. It's been since 1985 that we haven't had tolls here. I was throwing a quarter in the hopper when you went on the toll. That's how far back it went. I don't think any traffic engineer or any expert can stand here and tell you what the jump-off rate would be. I do know that in 2009, when they did a study here in the state of Connecticut on border tolling, they thought if we had a border toll in the town of Greenwich, that the jump-off rate would be approximately 1% at off-peak time, up to 13% at peak time. On the Rhode Island border, conversely though, because there's so many more routes you could avoid the toll, it's up to 30% jump-off rate for border tolling. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to hold true for these type of tolls that are not on the border. I'm not sure at this point anyone could tell you what that impact would be in Darien in a dollar and cents term. Will we have people jumping off I-95 to avoid a toll? I'm certainly, at least at the beginning, we will. But the impact, say on West Avenue, again, depends on where that gantry is going to be, whether we had a significant impact on West Avenue or not.
So, I know that our phones now reroute us through Waze or whatever those other means are. And, you know, I think it would be worthwhile giving some thought, or having the LTA give some thought to where would those natural routes be for trucks. We're hoping they're not going down the post road, you know, for the large trucks that would get stuck under the underpass. But where might they go? What routes might they go? And is there any opportunity for us to consider no-through trucks on any local roadways? It's not the panacea, but it certainly might be one thing that we could do to preempt. I don't know if it would cause more confusion or not.
Well, no-through trucks, as we know from our long-term effort that resulted in Route 136, Tokenique Road, being posted as no-through trucks. The state DOT and the Office of State Traffic Administration, much like speed limits, they control no-through trucks. The legal traffic authority in the local realm can recommend and request, but we don't have the authority to post most roads as no-through trucks,
Even local roads?
even local roads.
Okay.
There is some element where we can do that as long as it doesn't become a de facto no-through trucks for different municipalities. And let's remember again that no-through trucks is not the same as no trucks.
Right.
The local authority does have the ability to post roads as no trucks, but that would have to be determined on a really narrow road or a bridge that couldn't hold trucks.
Right.
We just can't make roads as no trucks because we just don't want trucks. And remember,
Oh, sorry.
Good.
Can I use an example for that? One road that always comes to mind as far as a cut-through road or to avoid 95 is Birch Road. So on that particular road, it could be a no-truck road because it's a local road, correct? I mean,
It
I don't
could.
know. I mean, I guess a truck, I don't know how they would zigzag even, I mean, there'd be a lot, I guess a big truck probably wouldn't even try, but, and when you say no trucks, what size does no truck mean? What size truck?
well, by statute, a truck is any conveyance that is specifically used to bring product and not people. So
So
pickup
UPS
trucks are exempt because
Okay.
we can,
Yeah.
as combination vehicles.
Yeah, okay.
You know, a plumber van, that's not really what I think the statute is envisioned for.
Okay.
It's
But
a
so,
bigger delivery
What
truck.
about people who would do curbside pickup for their,
Like junk
Trash.
alongs or whatever, junk.
yeah, like
Well,
the
that would not be a no-through
wouldn't
truck
be.
because that person has a legitimate destination in Darien.
So as long as it's not,
Hypothetically, now, just bear with me for a moment, that if someone wanted to be devious, they could schedule every operator in their fleet with one pickup or one drop-off in the town of Darien. They could. Entenmann's Coffee Cakes, I won't just pick them out of if they could deliver one coffee cake to Stop and Shop, and therefore they would no longer be a no-through truck.
Got it.
They could operate in Darien all day, every day, if they had one legitimate drop-off at a store here. I don't think vendors do that, and I think we probably would have some legal standing to probably challenge that if we thought someone was doing that.
And do you feel like you have the staffing to like have officers out there patrolling that street or where every day?
We do 136 Tokenique Road
realistic.
quite frequently in response to resident requests and complaints. It's a cat and mouse game sometimes, yes. There's a certain amount of trucks that will
Is it just
probably
a sign?
use that, and they feel, well, we haven't seen them out there for a while, so maybe we'll try going back up there again. We'll go out there, and we do that on a regular basis. But Susan, you bring up, Birch Road. Birch Road is almost a de facto no-through trucks, because Sylvan Road between Birch and Brookside is no-through trucks. And that dates back to 1997, that Sylvan Road was made as no-through trucks. So really, no-through trucks shouldn't be going up Birch Road because there's really no legal way for them to get out. Again, if they're going to Point of Woods or they're going to Maywood, they're not a through truck, they're making a delivery there. And that's an important distinction to make. I had a lady on Old Kings Highway North had no idea when there were 60 dump trucks going by her house every day for a project here in town that they were not no-through trucks. They're not obligated to pick some other route if they are in fact working in Darien. So there's an important distinction to make.
Just working in Darien or working along that route that they're taking?
It sounds like
If they are working on any street in Darien, they can use Darien streets as a not a through truck every day. So it may not be the best route, it may not be the most direct route.
Maybe the other side of town from where they're working.
Right. So
Right.
example, if someone wanted to go from Allwood, they could come down any road in Darien and would not be a through truck to get to their yard in Norwalk or Westport or Stanford. That's
Okay.
the way the law works. Secondly, the law is very clear that if we wish to post any road as no through trucks or ask the OSTA to do that, we have to provide a viable alternative. We can just not go in there and say, we would like to make this road no through trucks and not present them with some other alternative.
And could 95 be that alternative?
No.
Right.
So in the case of West Avenue,
Hey.
let's use West Avenue and Brookside Road as two examples. Brookside Road, we may be able to ask for no through trucks, but then what are you doing? You're putting trucks coming down
Somewhere
into the
else.
downtown to use West Avenue. I don't think there's any real likelihood that we could ever see West Avenue as posted as no through trucks because there is no viable alternative. They can't go under the railroad bridge. They
Right.
really can't turn back around, and they can't use 136, so they can't go down and come back up again. West Avenue really is the only viable alternative. So,
What is the status of all that litigation or whatever it might be in the areas of New Jersey near the George Washington Bridge, where they talked about everybody had these applications that was directing them all through these very small towns, to avoid the traffic on the George Washington
yeah,
Bridge?
I don't think there's been a resolution to that. As we spoke earlier, most people, if their Waze tells them to do this, they're doing it.
They're doing
Right.
it. Okay.
We have this issue sometimes up at exit 13 southbound, where people come to the end of the exit ramp, and their GPS or their Waze tells them to turn left. Well, they turn left into eastbound traffic.
Yeah.
They're not realizing they have to go over the crossover and
Yeah.
turn left. And then people tell us, well, my Waze told me to turn left here, and I'm turning left. So we are kind of beholden to our devices here at this point. And sometimes common sense takes a back seat. But yeah, when you're on I-95 and they're setting up a traffic pattern like they do right now, in this corridor, Waze is telling you US 1 is the way to go. And it's just, that's what it's telling you.
What else can you share with us? Is the local traffic authority concerned about this issue? Is it something that the LTA is dedicated to studying should it come to pass?
Well, the Legal Traffic Authority and me as their liaison, of course, we're always interested in discussing traffic impacts on all our streets. I think in this case, however, until they tell us, here is what is happening, I'm not sure we can offer too much more than that. I don't think prophylactically we can go to the OSTA and say, we want to have these roads as no-through trucks. They're going to say, why? Why are you coming to us now to make this a no-through truck? And I don't think the specter of tolls coming would be sufficient for us to do that.
Okay.
I have the list. I don't know, anyone can find it online, the list that we already have that are no-through trucks. Maybe I just run down them quick.
Sure,
So
yeah.
folks
Yeah.
have an idea. Okay, so we'll start at the top. I kind of see another one here on top. So Birch and Sylvan are already no-through trucks. So Birch from Boston Post Road to Sylvan is no-through trucks. Then Sylvan to Brookside is no-through trucks. Somebody asked me why we have two road names there, and I think that must have dated back to when those roads didn't connect. So that's no-through trucks already. Christie Hill Road from Hollow Tree to Hoyt Street, almost a mile, is no-through trucks. Hollow Tree Ridge Road from the New Canaan line to Middlesex Road, a distance of 3.16 miles, is no-through trucks.
Sorry, Hollow Tree from the New Canaan line to where?
To Middlesex Road.
But then Hollow Tree from Middlesex to West is, oh yeah, because of the school probably,
Yeah.
they would have to have trucks.
So it's just
Okay.
the upper end of Hollow Tree.
Okay.
Holmes Avenue from Middlesex Road to West Avenue. And the residents are very thankful that's no-through trucks. They weren't real thankful that we put center lines on their road because they thought more commercial traffic would come down. There's nothing in literature or that I can see that invites more commercial traffic, but that, the new standard is now if we're going to have a center roadway marking, it has to be a double line. That's why that got there. Locust Hill between Old Farm and Old Kings Highway South. So that stretch, you're not supposed to be using Old Kings Highway South. It's a bypass to US 1. Middlesex Road from Route 106 to Mansfield Avenue. So that whole stretch coming up from the Stanford border all the way up to 124.
Really?
That was 1978. I can't say I was here at that time, so. Old Farm Road from Locust Hill to Tokenique Road. So it's just a continuation, I guess. They're explaining it two different ways, but that whole section between the Post Road and, say, Tokenique School is no-through trucks. Old Kings Highway South from Boston Post Road to Locust Hill. I guess that's Tokenique Road, as we know, from the northbound exit 12 ramp to the Norwalk Town Line. That was the most recent one. I think that was 2007. And then Sylvan from Birch to Brookside. So if you look down the list of a lot of towns, we have actually more no-through trucks than some other municipalities of our similar size.
I think it's a key point that you said, because I was not aware of it. It doesn't mean no trucks.
Right.
Right.
No.
And I heard a constituent that lived on Tokenique Road that was extremely concerned that trucks were going up and down, so.
In the case of, we all love our Amazon Prime and we love our deliveries. In the case of our common carriers, again, any common carrier that has a destination in Darien can use 136
Okay.
all day, every day, as long as they have legitimate business here in Darien. That's an important distinction to make. Whereas no trucks means you have to post it as no trucks for a safety concern. The road is just not capable of handling a truck. So I'm certainly happy to monitor this. I mean, I've got voluminous data here, and there's still no, I'd like to see a final report before we weigh in more as to how we're doing this and where we're doing this. I mean, I know that we get into the politics of it, whether or not tolling or whether we have bonding, that's way above my
Right.
expertise and pay
Yeah.
grade. But, I do think clearly that our infrastructure on both I-95 throughout Connecticut and our other roads clearly is getting to the point where it needs repairs.
You missed my lead-up speech where I said we weren't going to talk about the politics of it.
I'm
We
more
just
than
wanted
happy
to
to
talk
not
about
discuss
local impact.
politics.
Don, one question I had at the last meeting was, let's just say we have a tolling, I'm trying to think where it would be. If we have a local road, let's take Edgerton, that is, it's at capacity because so many cars are getting off of 95. I mean, Edgerton's probably not a good example. I used Birch again, which I hate to keep using the same one. Do you, as the police department, have the ability to shut a road down, let's say, at 3 o'clock on a Friday to anyone other than residents because there's just too much volume going through that road?
Only if it was a safety concern. Only if we had to shut it down because there was something there that we could point to say that roadway was unsafe. Sheer volume or resident life, no, we wouldn't have that authority to do that.
Okay.
And that's what one of the fights was in New Jersey, was that one of the towns where people were being impacted because so much traffic was trying to avoid the bridge. They tried to make it resident only. And that's where they ran into some legal issues.
Interesting. Well, we want to thank you very much for being part of the conversation, and we're certainly going to follow it as it progresses through the process up in Hartford, and hopefully WestCog will get information about more details about a plan when and if it passes through this part of the process.
And as you know, if you have any questions, everyone knows where to find me. I'm more than happy to give you the accurate information as I know it. And we'll just continue to monitor this one, see where it takes us.
Can I ask a different question to Captain Anderson on a different topic? So, medical marijuana, if it passes,
Non-medical.
non-medical marijuana, if it passes, has there been much discussion from a law enforcement viewpoint of someone whether they ingest it, however they're going to ingest this, and then they get behind the car, the wheel of the car, how would you enforce whether they're capable of driving safe? Is it safe for them and or other people for them to drive a car?
Well,
Is there a lot of discussion that's going on for that?
There is a lot of discussion, and part and parcel of, I think, passing a non-medical marijuana law is they're going to have to devise a system. Someone is going to have to devise a system for officers on the road to have some type of scientifically backed, provable way to do this. And right now, I don't think that that's generally available.
Okay.
But as more and more states adopt this, I think the scientists are probably smart enough to devise a system that would have legal backing and legal standing in a court of law. And that's really the standard at this point. Right? We have a per se statute for alcohol. Clearly, it either is or it isn't. The same thing's going to happen, I think, for medical marijuana or non-medical marijuana. It's going to open up a whole different can of worms for a lot of people, employers, municipalities, DOT, you name it. There's a lot of ramifications for opening this type of statute up, and we'll take that as it comes as well. But I think they will develop some type of fairly simple, consistent roadside test that the law enforcement is going to be able to use. And maybe a national standard, maybe a state standard, but I think they can effectively do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The record in Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Nevada has not been good.
No, collision rates have certainly gone up. Some factions say that's not because of recreational marijuana, but the mere fact remains that the accident rate has gone up, especially in Colorado.
I'm sure it's due to the climate warming.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Does anybody have any other questions for Captain Anderson?
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
We really
You're
appreciate it.
certainly welcome.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. See you soon.
Okay, 6B, discuss and take action to approve bond authorizations for the Hindley Elementary School roof replacement project totaling $558,250.
So, one of the Board of Education's budget requests, capital budget requests this year was the funds for the school replacement project. The Board of Finance took it out of the budget, and they choose to finance it through bonds. So the Board of Selectmen is part of the approval process. This is on the agenda Monday night for the RTM. So we're asking you to approve the resolution appropriating The 558 and authorizing the issuance of bonds.
So, just a question on this. So we will issue bonds for that sum, and then we'll get some reimbursement from the state for the roof? I think roofs get some kind of a reimbursement, right?
They should, yes. So how the mechanics of it will work, in all likelihood, they won't issue the full 558.
Got it.
We have to
Okay.
appropriate the full amount we're going to spend.
Let's go.
But in all
Okay.
likelihood, they won't bond the whole amount.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about?
This is the amount that we've been talking about all the way through the budget process?
Well,
the
we
board-
haven't been
the Board
talking
of
about
Ed
it because it's
has.
Board of Ed
yeah.
project,
Board of
so,
Ed.
Yeah.
yeah.
But we have to put our stamp of approval because it's a
Town property.
capital project to be
Yeah.
bonded.
Because it's bonding.
It's
To
bonding.
tell you the truth, Mark, I didn't
Yeah.
look at their budget request to see if this is the exact amount, because often with a bond authorization,
Can I look?
Okay.
Oh, that's, yeah.
they add on for issuance costs, some small
Yes.
amount for the lawyer fees and,
Fine,
um,
fine. That's it, I'm sure.
like if you look at the next one up, Highland Farms, they're asking for 609,
Yeah,
and we had put 600,
yeah.
yeah.
Just looking to see if it's in here. Kate.
It would be one of the last pages of the our reserve fund, because the Board of Ed's at the end. There you go. Keep going. You might have the request. It should be by
Emily?
school,
Hinley roof,
okay?
$550.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me
yeah,
go.
so the
Plus
8250
bonding
is, yeah.
Okay,
8-2.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, any other questions about approving the bonding resolution for the Hindley roof? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Pam, may I have a second? Susan, all those in favor? Great. Okay.
So the next one is basically the same thing. Is our project Highland Farms.
And this was our recommendation to the
Our-
Board of Finance, that they
Bond it.
consider bonding
Right.
for the full cost. Any questions about this request? No? All right, no questions, then I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution appropriating $609,000 for the Highland Farm Improvement Project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in that same amount.
So moved.
Kip, may I have a second?
Second.
Mark? All those in favor? Great, thank you.
Okay, this is an interesting one. So,
Just to lead up, can I give the header on this one?
Oh, sure.
It's to discuss and take action to close certain inactive funds.
right, so a number of years ago, the GASB, which is the Accounting Standards Boards for Governments, came out with a new pronouncement that said any special revenue funds you have that do not generate the majority of their own revenues, like if they're supported by the general fund, so the general fund gives them money that to run, they can't be special revenue funds anymore. They have to be basically a committed portion of your fund balance in the general fund. So that's where the animal control fund and the waste disposal fund, waste management fund, we had treated them for years as special revenue funds. We could no longer do that. They became part of the general fund, fund balance. Animal control was the only one that was actually really active ever. Those expenses were folded into the general fund as part of the police budget. Waste disposal and waste management had been set up sometime in the 90s. Related to, the waste disposal was related to fees for the transfer station to help mitigate changes in the fees. And waste management had to do with activities of the sewer commission. They've not been active in years. And so the Board of Finance wants to close them all out. So that actually takes an action of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and the RTM.
All right,
So,
thank you.
to put some dollar context on this, we're asking for a resolution to authorize the closing of these three funds. The Animal Control Fund has a balance of $28,432 and was last active in 2013. The Waste Disposal Fund has a balance of $89,851 and was last active in the year 2000. And the Waste Management Fund has a balance of $76,270 and was last active in 2008. So these funds will be closed out and those balances will,
Yeah, so if you were to look at the audit statement right now, you would look, if you looked at the general fund and looked down at fund balance, they really are part of, they're there as committed amounts. So this basically just puts them, takes out the commitment, they become unappropriated fund balance of the general fund.
okay.
It's really technical DP accounting. Sorry.
It makes some sense if we're no longer using these funds for any operating purpose.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about this action?
Thank you, Gatsby.
We have so much to thank them for.
I know.
Okay.
Sorry, you gotta have a little humor here.
If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the closeout of these funds.
So moved.
Kip, may I have a second?
Second.
Mark? All those in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, and last, our new item is to consider special appropriations. And Kate, correct me if I get this wrong. So it had been the practice of the Board of Finance in budget years past that they would take about $1.1 million from fund balance every year to apply against our capital spending plan, typically. Was it capital, or did they use it
They
for
used
operating?
they used it as a revenue source in the operating fund. They basically assumed that our operating revenues would be $1.1 million less than we spent. And that gap was to be funded through use of fund balance.
So they no longer undertake that practice. But when they reviewed our fund balance, they realized that we have accumulated a significant amount of money in our fund balance, and therefore they felt comfortable taking $500,000 of fund balance and appropriating it to specific capital projects. $500,000 in total, but allocated in this way: new sidewalk installation, $200,000; the Norotan Ledge intersection design, $175,000; short lane construction, $50,000; and the homes, looks like it's an air conditioning unit replacement of $75,000. These are all approved capital projects. We in the Board of Ed approved these through our process this year. This is just the Board of Finance's desire to use fund balance to fund them instead of taxing for them, since we have excess.
Yeah.
And this is the email you sent us today.
This is
Yes.
the email I sent you today, and my apologies. I had, when it first came across my desk, I said, oh, no, it doesn't need to go on your agenda. Board of Finance can send it directly. And then I took a second look at the charter, and it does require that the Board of Selectmen submit the request to the RTM. This is the right kind of way to use fund balance. You should use it for one-time things.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good thing. And one advantage in a way that this gives it, if this is approved by the RTM, the funds actually become available 10 days after their action.
Oh,
It doesn't have to wait until
Correct.
July 1st.
that's good.
Nick,
How big was the fund balance? I mean, as a percentage of the...
As a percentage, it's in the low teens, I believe.
Because wasn't their goal like 13%? Am I right? I don't know. I'm not
Yes,
sure.
that's about right.
I mean,
10 to
the target.
15%, yeah.
Okay. So in other words,
You want to keep it you want to keep it at a, healthy enough level that the rating agencies are comfortable with it. We want to be comfortable that we have the funds necessary to handle an emergency,
Right,
but you don't want it to be too high.
okay.
Right. And to your point, Kate, this is almost a better use of fund balance than what they had done prior. If they were if they were applying the $1.1 million against operating expenses, right?
It is, it wasn't bad what they were doing before because they were confident that their revenue estimates were conservative, such that the likelihood of them needing to dig into the fund balance was small. And they also, with the 5-year forecast, they planned on that 1.1 million. And they could look at the drawdown and see that if they always kept it so that if they actually used it, there was a floor where they would not go below. And so that was always factored into the forecast. So they were managing it appropriately. But they've taken steps to be a little bit less conservative in some of the revenue estimates, like the tax collection rate.
Yeah.
They've increased their assumption on the percentage of taxes we collect. So you're no longer as certain of a cushion.
Although in spite of those things, we continue to perform well, and our reserve fund is growing.
It's growing. A lot of that's been on the expense side by managing our expenses.
Yes. And so I would say that typically a $500,000 contribution like this is very conservative. We could have gone up to, in theory, the 1.1 million. But we do have some potential expenses on the horizon,
Right.
which it's probably good to be mindful of. So who knows if we'll be coming back for another special appropriation for, say, teacher pension sharing, right? Does anybody have any other questions about this request to spend $500,000 out of our reserves for those 4 projects?
I just have a quick question for Kate. So F&B met last week and discussed everything.
I would assume they discussed all of this, yeah.
And did they discuss this also?
I would assume so.
I just can't remember that part. Okay, because you thought it was going straight from the Board of Finance to the RTM, so they most likely
Right, so
did.
see,
Okay,
like with
yep,
transfers, legally, transfers don't have to come to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And that's, when I was looking at this, I was thinking transfer, not special appropriation.
Okay, all right.
No problem.
And this can be spent right away. In
10 days
Yeah.
after the
After the
RTM
RTM
approves it.
meeting.
Good.
Great.
Yep. Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution allowing for this special appropriation, assuming it's approved by the Board of Finance and then referred to the RTM for $500,000, contribution from fund balance to new sidewalks, Roten Ledge intersection, short lane construction, and Holmes air conditioning replacement unit.
I'll make the motion.
Susan, may I have a second? Is that a Pam? Sure. Okay. All those in favor? Great. Okay, thank you. We have some appointments this evening. We have the appointment of Janet King to the Human Service Commission for a term expiring on November 30, 2020. We have the reappointment of Michael Netter to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term expiring on June 30th, 21. And the RTM has recommended the appointment of Ann Reed to sit on the Blight Review Board as the RTM's representative for a term ending in November, on November 5th of 2019.
Right, so just the reason for that date is that's when her RTM term expires.
Okay.
Okay.
So, may I have a motion to approve those appointments and reappointment?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Kip. All those in favor? Great. Thank you. Okay, we have minutes, regular meeting minutes of April 23rd.
Very brief.
Yep. Kate took those minutes.
Very well done.
We like those brief ones.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Mark?
There was a mistake in the appointments. That is Roland Holub,
Oh, great.
Oh,
not Robert.
Oh,
And we've been doing that all along, but it's come to my attention that
You're right.
thank you.
wow, yeah, Raleigh, Roland.
We said Raleigh, but you're right, it's Roland, is his formal name, you're correct.
I believe-
Roland.
2 L's or
Yeah,
1 L?
I think it's 1L.
Okay.
I heard it. I didn't see it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes. Thank you. Are there any other corrections or additions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended. Pam's hand went up first, and then Mark's.
Right. It was my amendment, so
Okay.
I don't know. I guess.
Perfect. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Agenda review. We have a couple of things. We talked about Ed coming. We wanted Ed to give us a couple of updates.
He wanted to wait until June, after, and I forget what it was, but I talked to him, and was that for April? I can't recall right now what it was that you wanted to meet him about, and he wanted to wait until June.
Well, we'll have several things for him to update us on. He can update us on the RFQ for the sewer, the work that we're hoping to do in our sewer system.
Yeah, that may have been it.
Um,
Oh, it was the Norton Heights,
The station
the
study.
station study.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he wanted to wait until we had a couple further meetings with the consultant.
Yep.
And we wanted Pam Gary to come back and talk about the short lane collaboration, that funding, and what the
Yes.
project proposal looked like.
She wasn't ready to come to
Right.
this meeting, but we've asked her to come when
Okay, good. I just
When
wanted to make
they-
sure that was up there.
the
so-
group can come.
Yep.
And still going back to the collaboration with New Canaan on the bike
the bike.
lanes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else? No? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Pam? May I have a second? Second?
Second.
Second? Yep. All those in favor? Great, thank you.